We are now less than a week away from the draft, so it's time for me to put out my official mock. Before we get into it, I just want to thank everyone for the support over the past 6 months. I hope you guys have enjoyed the content I've put out. Expect weekly uploads to continue, and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. Now to the mock draft. These picks are based on media intel, team needs, and my personal preferences. First team on the board, the Chicago Bears. There's not a lot of doubt here. The Bears have been heavily linked with Caleb Williams over the past couple months, and this pick is merely a formality. Chicago has had a below-average offense for a very long time, but they finally seem to be putting the pieces together. Bringing in Williams to throw to DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and possibly another top receiver immediately makes Chicago's offense one of the best on paper in the entire NFC. If you watch my QB rankings, you would know that I think Caleb is far from a perfect QB prospect, but with these weapons around him, it's hard to see Chicago not unlocking Williams' potential. The Bears struck gold with their draft day trade last year, and now it's time for them to reap the benefits. Now to pick 2, the Commanders are also in the market for a QB, and there are a couple of great options available. I think they go with my favorite QB in the class, Jaden Daniels. Daniels is the most dynamic QB. He has a quick and clean throwing motion, good pocket presence, amazing touch down the field, and he can create big chunk plays with his legs. He can excel from the pocket or on the move. He's calm under pressure. He has all the tools to be a one-man offense. Washington is an okay destination. They need to improve their offensive line as it was poor last season, but they do have decent receivers. As long as Daniels can tone down the reckless plays and avoid injury, he should be a top QB for a long time. And that leaves one top QB prospect, Drake May. Unfortunately for Drake, he has to go to one of the least appealing offenses in the entire league with a top receiver duo of Kendrick Bourne and KJ Osborne. I think May's a great prospect. He has great size and a strong arm. He throws with confidence and can deliver to any area of the field. The Justin Herbert comparison makes a lot of sense to me, and I think the Patriots are lucky to land this kind of prospect at pick 3. I hope they keep him on the bench for his rookie season to let him develop while they get some better personnel to put around him. Now to pick 4, and speaking of luck, the Cardinals land the best prospect in the entire draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. The guy's a physical freak who also happens to be a strong route runner and as elite as they come at the catch point. He's the best receiver prospect I've ever scouted. Expect him and Kyler to be one of the best offensive tandems in the NFL this season. At pick 5, this is where things start to become uncertain. The top QBs and the number 1 prospect are off the board, and the Chargers have a ton of holes in their roster. However, the point of emphasis that the new coaching staff has been hammering in press conferences has been giving Justin Herbert a strong running game, which I believe hints toward them adding to their offensive line. Therefore, I'm mocking them arguably the most impressive run-blocking tackle in the class, Talise Fuaga. The Chargers already have a strong left tackle, so them taking the top right tackle makes a lot of sense, as Harbaugh likes to win in the trenches. Fuaga will be an immediate difference maker who will help the running game and give Herbert more time in the pocket. On to the Giants. They're lacking a go-to player on their offense, so they go with Malik Nabers here. Nabers is a guy that can produce at all levels of the field. He can beat defenders deep with his speed. He's tough enough to catch over the middle and can create big gains in the screen game. He's the type of player that should have around 10 touches and 100 yards each game. He'll bring an immediate alpha presence to a woeful offense. The Titans add the consensus number 1 offensive lineman in Joe Alt here. They have a huge hole on the left side of their line, and they've shown a lot of interest in Alt in the pre-draft process. Joe is a massive dude with great athleticism and arm length. He was dominant in pass protection in college and put up good numbers in the run game as well. He lacks some toughness and finish, but he is a high floor player who will help the Titans keep Will Levis upright. Next, the Falcons take the best edge prospect in the draft, Laiatu Latu out of UCLA. The Falcons need a difference maker in their front 7, and Latu can be that guy. He has an elite combination of length, hand speed, and bend. He plays with a high motor and can win in a variety of ways, making him a game wrecker for opposing offenses. The medical issues are in the past, and I would bang the table for Latu in this scenario. Back to Chicago, the Bears have mentioned looking towards edge help with this pick, but I think it makes more sense to load up the offense and take Rome Odunze. Chicago's defense improved after the Montez Sweat trade, and I think the Bears should go all in on investing in Caleb Williams. This level of support will help them hide his deficiencies and speed up his development. I expect the Jets to then continue the offensive trend and pick up Troy Fautanu. The Jets have already met with Troy in the pre-draft process, and it makes a lot of sense for them. The Jets picked up Tyron Smith and John Simpson in FA to block on the left side of their line, but Smith is old and has had injury issues, and Simpson is fairly mediocre. Fautanu can add a lift to their unit at either guard or tackle and can be the left tackle of the future after Tyron Smith retires. Fautanu plays with incredible athleticism and has a nasty finish in the run game. He can cut off rushing angles, moves his feet, and times his hands well. He doesn't have amazing size or arm length, but he's a high-level football player that was a big part of Washington's success last season. Now Minnesota. They seem to be locked in on picking a QB, So for that reason, I'm giving them the best one left in my opinion, and that's Michael Penix Jr. They brought him in for a private visit and seem to have some level of interest. The Vikings have a strong offensive line and a great receiving core, so this situation will be great for Penix. Michael has high-level mental processing and a great arm. He's an aggressive thrower who makes a living off ripping balls in between tight zones down the field. He could bring some real excitement to this Minnesota offense. Another team looking for a QB, we have the Denver Broncos. Now, I wouldn't do this, but I think they're leaning towards picking J.J. McCarthy. The Broncos hosted McCarthy for a private workout, and Denver is a common destination for J.J. in insider mock drafts. McCarthy is as tough as they come, is big and fast, and can sling missiles down the middle of the field. However, Denver is going to need to support him with a strong running game and a weapon or two outside if they want him to survive as their QB. On to the Raiders. Their new head coach, Antonio Pierce, loves playing physical football, so I see him investing in the trenches here and picking J.C. Latham to anchor the right side of the line. The Raiders miss out on getting a new QB, but they solidify themselves in the trenches and become a scary team for anyone to face. They have talent all over both lines and will be able to slow down games and take control. Latham is a 21-year-old tackle prospect with great size and movement ability. He's nasty in the run game and has a strong anchor in the pass game. He can still clean up his feet, but he's got great physical traits, refined hands, and plenty of experience playing high-level competition in college. The Saints need help at tackle. Ryan Ramczyk has had trouble staying on the field, and Trevor Penning has not played well since he got picked in the first round. Luckily, they land one of the best pass protectors in the draft here with Olu Fashanu. Fashanu is refined in pass protection. He has smooth feet, quick hands, and an elite anchor ability. He absorbs power as well as any lineman in this class. He suffocates rushers with his size, agility, and ability to recover and replace his hands. He lacks finish in his game, and his run blocking ability is uninspiring, which leads to him dropping this far, but he can provide an immediate spark in the pass game. Now to the Colts. Indianapolis adds some much-needed support for Anthony Richardson by picking Brock Bowers here. This pick is a no-brainer. Bowers is one of the best tight end prospects ever. He's a feisty football player who brings a high level of energy to every play. He's effective in whatever assignment you give him. He can block defensive ends and create push in the run game. You can motion him out on jet sweeps. You can send him down the field. He's a jack of all trades and will be a matchup nightmare for defenses. Cam Newton had Greg Olsen, and now Anthony Richardson gets Brock Bowers. On to the Seahawks. They have a strong back end on defense, but are still lacking some star power up front. So I think they'll select Dallas Turner. Turner put on a show at the Combine, 4.4 speed, 40-inch vert, almost 34.5-inch arms. He can provide a constant threat to opposing QBs and can be another piece in the rebirth of the Legion of Boom. This is a near can't-miss prospect and good value in the middle of the first round. The Jaguars get a steal here in LSU receiver Brian Thomas Jr. and upgrade at the wide receiver position after the departure of Calvin Ridley. Thomas has good size and very good athleticism. He's a twitchy route runner who beats defenders with his crafty footwork and feel for timing and leverage. As an outside receiver, he gets more separation than both Odunze and Neighbors. He'll step in and be Lawrence's number one target right away. The Bengals just lost a key player in their defense, DJ Reader, so they reinvest in their defensive line here and get the quickest inside rusher in the class in Byron Murphy. Cincinnati has been heavily linked with Byron during the entire pre-draft process, and it seems they have strong interest in him. Murphy is explosive off the snap and gets to the point of attack with urgency. He impresses as a pass rusher with his wide variety of moves. I don't see as much potential in his game as Jerzon Newton's, but Murphy is still a quality player that can be a potential X factor for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. The Rams finally get to select a player in the first round, and they decide to go with Amarius Mims from Georgia. Last season, their offense showed flashes of dominance, and adding an athletic behemoth like Mims will help them become more consistent. The 6'7", 340-pound tackle is just 21 years old and has the physical profile you look for in a top 20 offensive tackle. He has scheme versatility with his skill set and already has some refinement in his pass protection. He's got a solid floor and a sky-high ceiling. Now to the Steelers, they could go a lot of directions, but they decide to get arguably the best cover corner in this class, Nate Wiggins. Pittsburgh met with Wiggins at the Combine and at his pro day, and also hosted him on a top 30 visit. Nate is a super fluid athlete who excels at mirroring routes with his quick feet. He closes in on passes as well as any DB available and plays with the necessary attitude and swagger for the position. This pick gives Pittsburgh an elite duo at the cornerback position with Wiggins and Porter Jr. The Dolphins just lost Christian Wilkins and get an immediate replacement here in Johnny Newton. They had their scouts at his pro day and his fit makes a lot of sense with their current personnel. Newton flies off the snap. He consistently gets in front of zone runs with impressive lateral agility. He shines in the pass game as he's an active rusher who varies his attacks and has a good feel for leverage. He has good traits and had great production rushing the passer in college. He can be a game wrecker. Getting the best interior defensive lineman at pick 21 is great value for Miami. Continuing with great value, the Eagles get arguably the best defensive back in this class in Cooper DeJean. The Eagles secondary lost a step last year, so adding a versatile playmaker like DeJean will give them a big boost. He had great tape this season and finished with a 9.9 relative athletic score, making him a 99th percentile athlete at the cornerback position. DeJean has the toughness, agility, and anticipation skills to play in any alignment as a defensive back. He can be used as a Swiss Army knife in coverage, like how the Cardinals used Tyrann Mathieu, though I think he can also be great just playing on the outside. He suffocates receivers with his movement skills and timing, and he is a ball hawk when he gets targeted. This would be a great step towards bringing juice back to the Philadelphia defense. The Vikings filled a hole in their secondary by selecting Terrion Arnold here. Minnesota has spent plenty of time getting to know the top cornerbacks this year, so there's clearly interest in addressing the position. They could maybe go Jared Verse, but they did sign Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard in free agency, so I think Arnold makes more sense. Terrion has solid coverage ability, but what stands out is his competitiveness, closing speed, and ability in run support. He came to Alabama as a 5-star safety, so he's physical enough to hold his own out on the edge. He's a feisty player that brings an attitude to a defense as well as leadership. Expect him to be more of a playmaker than a shutdown corner. The Cowboys boost their offensive line by selecting Graham Barton. With Tyler Smith shifting over to left tackle, adding the most promising interior offensive lineman would be a great move for Dallas. Barton had the third highest relative athletic score of any guard to test since 1987. He comes in at 6'5", 313 with a 4'9", 740, 4.55 shuttle, and 7.31 3-cone, all within the 90th percentile. He combines that athleticism with strong hands and great finish in the run game. He's versatile as far as his position goes. He can play any position on the line, but is best suited inside. Barton is destined to be a long-time starter in the league. Now to Green Bay, I think the Packers also go with an offensive lineman in Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. Morgan has great athleticism as he finished as a 92nd percentile tackle in terms of athletic scoring. He has amazing change of direction ability and movement in the open field. He's precise with his feet as well as his timing and hand placement. He's got a great athletic profile, but he can still become stronger and develop his anchor ability. His build at 6'5" flat with 32-inch long arms might force him to play inside at the next level, but he does have experience at tackle and can be a versatile offensive lineman for the Packers. On to the Buccaneers, they get lucky as a bunch of teams before them are edge heavy, so they end up landing Jared Verse. Tampa met with him multiple times, including bringing him in for a top 30 visit. With the release of Shaq Barrett, Verse can come in and provide similar production. Jared ran a ridiculous 4.58 40, while also getting a 35-inch vert, 10.07 broad, and benching 31 reps. He has an elite size, speed, strength combo that makes him a promising prospect. On film, he consistently wins with power. He's great in the run game and can set the edge. As a pass rusher, he's explosive off the snap and lands devastating shots with his hands. He plays with a mean streak and is the kind of football player that every team wants in their defense. Now to Arizona's second pick in the first round. They improved their offense with the addition of Marvin Harrison, so now they turn to the defense. The elite edge prospects are out, so Arizona goes with Quinyon Mitchell. Mitchell ran a blazing 40 at 4.33 and had a 38-inch vert and bench 20 reps. He was the number one corner per PFF in college football these past 2 seasons and dominated against low-level competition. He's probably the biggest question mark in the draft. Solid size, elite athlete, great film, but he barely played any press technique. His film is full of off coverage, breaking on simple routes like slants against mediocre receivers. It's tough to project him in the NFL, but he's maybe the only high potential defensive prospect left in the class at this point, so the pick makes sense for Arizona. Buffalo's up now. It's been a while since a receiver has been selected, and the Bills need one, so they stop the slide and pick Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. Ladd is the most exceptional route runner in this class. He is so twitchy in and out of his breaks and creates a ton of separation. He put up elite speed and agility scores at his pro day, and it shows up on tape. He can step in and immediately be Josh Allen's favorite target. Detroit needs to add to their defense, especially at corner. They've spent a lot of time and resources evaluating the top cornerbacks so far in this cycle. They seem to have their eyes set on Kool-Aid McKinstry. They officially spoke with him at the Combine and his pro day and hosted him on a top 30 visit. Kool-Aid is recovering from foot surgery for a Jones fracture that was discovered during his Combine medical evaluation. He still put up decent testing numbers even with the injury, as he finished with a relative athletic score of 7.54. He has a ton of experience as he started in Nick Saban's defense all the way back in his freshman season. He has good size at 5'11", 200 and played every single technique at Alabama. He processes the game well and often puts himself in the right position to make a play, and he also has great ball skills. By pairing him up with Carlton Davis, the Lions get a much better outside corner duo than they had last season. Baltimore just lost both their starting guards and also their starting right tackle, so they decided to select Tyler Guyton. Guyton played right tackle almost exclusively for Oklahoma. He is massive at 6'7", 322, and has excellent arm length at 34.125 inches. He has an elite athletic profile as he put up a 1.76 10-yard split, a 34.5-inch vert, and a 7.53 cone, all within the 85th percentile for a tackle. He's an elite mover on the field, can cover a lot of ground, and also shock players with his initial punch. His hand placement is inconsistent, and he lacks finishing ability. He needs to become more consistent with his hand technique and pad height, but there's a lot of potential in his game. Whether or not they keep Brandon Ayuk, I think the 49ers will end up going with Adonai Mitchell. He's the best player left on the board and can be a playmaker for them from day one. Mitchell is a 99th percentile athlete who had the 5th highest relative athletic score of any wide receiver to ever test. He's 6'2", 205 with 4.34 speed, 39.5-inch vertical, and 11.04 broad. He has a polished set of releases and is an incredibly fluid route runner. His combination of size, speed, and agility make it difficult for defenses to account for him. He's also got reliable hands with only one drop on over 100 targets. He still needs to become more efficient with his feet and attack the ball better in the air, but he's already skilled and has a high ceiling. This pick immediately makes a stacked 49ers roster even better. And with the final pick in the first round, the Chiefs go with Xavier Worthy. They have a major need at both left tackle and receiver, and they address one of them with this pick. They've already officially met with Worthy at the Combine, and Andy Reid has always been a fan of quick receivers. Xavier has game-breaking speed and explosiveness. He will add a new element to KC's offense, and he will impact the game whether he gets the ball or not. Expect Worthy to be motioned around a bunch as the Chiefs will use him to stress defenses both horizontally and vertically. So that's it for my mock draft. Let me know if you agree in the comments below and drop your predictions. Again, thank you guys for the support. That's all from me, and I'm out.